All right, good afternoon. Welcome to the weekly take on the market. Today is Friday, December 6th. It's about 1:30 Pacific time. Market's closed. I'll be your host. My name is Scott St. Clair, the manager of the Premium Product Group here at Investors Business Daily. Here is the disclaimer. Please take a moment to read it. Not licensed. Can't tell you what to buy, what to sell, what to hold, etc. Okay, so we'll cover the market indices. We'll do the industry groups a little bit. We'll look at some stocks to watch, and then we'll do the quote of the week. So you know the drill, same as always. Some screenshots that I noticed this week. I've always been fascinated by this. The overnight returns of the S&P versus the returns during the day. In other words, if you bought the S&P on the close and sold it on the open the next day, and since 1993, I believe, you'd be up tenfold. If you bought the S&P on the open and sold it at the close, you'd be up 16%. So a lot of the gains are created by taking the risk, the overnight risk. It's very difficult to, I guess, to be a day trader. It must be super tough, at least if you're only trading the indices. That would be the key here. So this has been going on for a while, and it's pushing new highs as we speak. The U.S. stock market's the place to be. Very few people are interested in overseas markets. I don't know when or if that will ever change. I feel like it will change, but trying to guess when is pretty tough. We're pushing 3 standard deviations. So if you thought, oh, 1 standard deviation was enough, then you've left a lot of alpha on the table. But it's really a U.S. centric game, the stock market, and part of it is because the best companies are here. And I've talked about this before, but the Nvidias. Can you recreate an Nvidia, an Apple, a Google in Europe or Singapore or something? It just seems it's so unlikely. There are some good companies overseas. There's ASML and TSMC and C Limited and what's the one in France, the luxury LVMH, I think. So it's not, but they're few and far between versus the U.S. And the U.S. stock market is now 63% of the global market cap, up from 60% beginning of the year. The next biggest market is, drumroll please, Japan at 5.6%. So it's super, super stretched as far as the allocation to U.S. equities. I don't know how this ends. I haven't the slightest end, and it's all kind of just fun, because especially for me, who's such a short-term trader. It's funny how I read all this and think about all this long-term stuff, but then I just trade so short-term. So in the end, it's I just have to kind of follow my own light. But I like to think about this kind of stuff, and I wonder, and it makes for a great story. I wonder how this is going to, quote unquote, end. It seems like there will be some reversion to the mean. It's just so hard to know wins. That's why I think no matter what, when you're buying individual equities, you have to have an exit strategy, I think. And if you own Nvidia at $1 split adjusted and it's $100, you have to have an exit strategy. I don't care if it's 90 or 50 or something, but you should have some kind of exit strategy for everything that you own. And if you buy ETFs or mutual funds or something, I think you probably should have some kind of like protective equity curve safeguard, or if my account goes down 10% off the high, I'll reduce the portfolio by 20% or something like that. I just wholeheartedly believe in that stuff. And it shakes you out, but if there is ever a large reversion to the mean, and I've been through 2 of them, the financial crisis and the The internet tech TMT bubble, whatever you want to call it, in 2000. It's just going to save your bacon in those situations. Uh, Equity flows into U.S. stocks. Um, so the party's on, right, with the whole the election, and everybody believes Trump has all these plans that are going to let's hope they work, and that's what people are betting on. So right now, it's just all systems go. I just don't see any warning signs other than the fact that the market's stretched. And stretched is like the worst reason in the world to sell. Like it's just selling stretched just cost me more money in my career than any other thing possible. So the Palantir looks stretched. I've said that for 10 points. So APP looks stretched. Again, I would have said that 100 points ago. So stretched is not a reason. So you just keep that in mind. I think that's it. Oh no, here's more cannon fodder. Uh, and I'll pull up the zero BUL too. So sentiment is here we go again, stretched. Here's the chart, the conference board for surveys of adults who, where's the stock market going to be, higher or lower? And you can see it's off the charts as far as confidence. All right, let's go to the indexes before we jump to the industry groups. And at least the NASDAQ has made it out of this area. It's made it out of this area. It's just kind of doing what it's supposed to do, or what you'd like it to do. It runs up, tiny correction, rallies. The relative strength is the only kind of thing that you wish it was a little bit stronger. But other than that, I think the index as a whole, if you have to trade indexes, is fine. If I draw like a little trend line, like I could draw like something like that, and this is not drawn to scale. Oops, I need it for the end. I need it for the. Let's just use a QQQ, and you kind of see that. Pushing here, but like I think for the spiders, you could see like we're pushing to the upper trend line that I have drawn here. I don't know where or how I drew this one. Let me get rid of that one. I don't see how that one's valid anymore. But you look at the daily, it just looks like it probably wants to run up into this area before, but it's getting real tight. And these bars are just getting tinier and tinier. And usually that could lead to an expansion, like either up or down. I don't know. It could be up, could be down, but feels like as it's getting closer and closer, you'll get some kind of range expansion out of that area. So I think the markets are fine. I just don't. I try to just watch the stocks that I like and the stocks that I wish I owned and the stocks that I like to own. They just take up most of my energy. If as far as my decision making. Let's look at some stuff like gold. Not doing a whole lot. IWM. It's okay. Nothing wrong with that, right? What else is out there? Oh, well, I guess we could go down the Bitcoin rabbit hole. I don't know if that would be like index related, but you had like a little reversal when it hit about 103 and change, and then it had like a mini little meltdown to 92,000 really quick, like almost like a mini flash crash that lasted for, I don't watch closely, but I would say like 5 minutes or something based on what I saw on Twitter. And then it came back. So that's the thing, is they're not when you should get worried if with anything is when it goes down and then stays down, and they're just not staying down. So it's hard to argue with that action. China, I think, is, somebody asked me like when I would change my tune on China, and I think besides more stronger price action, would be some kind of macro change, probably. I think I'd rather be a little bit late to China versus early. So if something were to change, if they were to make a big change and really turn it around, like there's so much room to go. Here, this ETF went from 18 to 73 when it was all systems go. 18 minus 73. 300% roughly. So if it's all systems go and it goes up 300%, that's 30 to 90. And so I don't mind paying 45. That seemed late, but it'd be, at least I'd know it was in motion the right way. So I don't do much. Actually, honestly, I do nothing with China at this point. I don't want to short it. I don't want to do that. But I just don't have any interest in the long names because they haven't shown me anything just yet. I think that's it as far as the indexes. And I'll turn my camera off just in case. I apologize. Sometimes forget. Let's go to the industry groups. All right. Oil and Gas Royalty Trust is 1. Telecom Fiber Optics is 2. Computer Software Education 3. Security is 4. 88.4. Software Financial. Telecom Infrastructure. So, and I've talked about it before. What I'll do is I'll just look for something that I haven't looked at much that's trending in the right direction, like financial services specialty, 30, 10, 9. Ideally, I would like to find it like 58, 30. Oh, maybe I'll look at that versus before it gets to the top 10. By the time it gets to the top 10, you've probably missed the best names. And it's highly likely you've missed the best names, unless we're in a bear market or a correction. So it's best to try to catch them as the delta is changing. Software Enterprise 65, I'm sorry, 71, 65, 22, 19, right? So you get in there and you dig into the weeds before it makes it all the way to the top, if it's going to. They're not all going to do that. So I've said it before, I just haven't got much signal from the industry groups as a whole in a while. So I have to admit, I've been kind of neglecting that part. Luckily, I do this video and it kind of keeps me on my toes to remind me because as soon as I give up on it, that'll be the time. So I don't want to give up on it, but this has been one of those years, at least for me, where I haven't got a lot of signal from the industry groups on exactly where I should be positioned. All right, so let's get into the stocks. So I did mention app. You've got this little ant here and extended, right? For certain. If you own it, great. You don't have to sell it just because it's extended or stretched. Remember what I talked about with being stretched or extended? But you have to know that, there's going to be a base. There's going to be a pullback. Look how far from the 50-day the stock is. It's 80% from the 50-day. So eventually these are going to meet. I don't know where, but you got to be comfortable with that fact and knowing. And ideally what happens is it just kind of goes sideways and this will catch up just through the sheer amount of time. So, but very extended, super leader. Obviously, look at the last quarter was your trigger, up 317%. Palantir, another one, it's super extended, getting more and more extended. So, I mean, for me, it was extended here and there and there. So I don't know what good my analysis is for anyone who might own it. It's just getting more and more extended. But like I drew like kind of this rudimentary trend line or upper channel line, and it triggered it today. So I think, and I think I've said this before, But to me, this is an offensive sell signal. Um, triple triple signal, super duper offensive sell signal, on Palantir. If you're not a seller here, you're probably just not a seller. Is what is you just don't want to sell it, so you're gonna have to ride through some volatility. But leadership, I don't know what they're doing exactly, but whatever they're doing, people love it. Institutions love it. Look at the jump in the numbers. Last quarter over quarter, 200 plus mutual funds join the party, for lack of a better term, and the earnings and sales are there. It's hard there. It's quality numbers, that's for sure. Kava, let's look at Kava, CAVA. So it's got, see how it hit this upper trend line like that? These are, there's, how I'm drawing them is probably not exactly perfectly technical how they're being drawn, but they tend to work pretty well. This is just holding in there. It's kind of holding this. It had this little reversal here, but it's not, your expectation would be lower and it hasn't. So hanging in there really well. What else is out there in the, oh, the leadership world? Tesla. I think, where was it that I bought this one? Here or here? And just lost my nerve there. So I actually was like, this stock's going higher. I should own that stock. And so but leadership doesn't quite have the earnings and sales that the other ones do, but that doesn't seem to matter. The story is there. A Lab. So a little bit stretched, but leadership. Ideally, you get a base. And it's, we're in a market. It's not, it's for me, I'm looking for this. I need some kind of volatility. I need some shakeouts for me to get back in, for me to hold a little bit longer. And I'm okay with that. And if I miss them, I miss them. But I've been around a long time. The shakeouts, they'll come. They might not come this year, but they'll come next year, or next quarter, next month. It'll happen. So I'll try to be patient and wait for them. But if you own this, you can see there's been a lot of possibilities. How about this one, RBRK? Now, not the greatest of day close, but still great little breakout from down here, and really powerful apps. Now, when app broke out, it closed a little bit better on kind of on the high end. So you'd probably prefer, obviously, that it closed a little bit higher, and the closing range is 24%, but that's not including the gap. So it's a little bit better than that. Maybe it looks like about half, or maybe 60% to the positive. But new leadership possibility for sure. Did I do Reddit? I don't know if I don't think I did Reddit. So see how Reddit closed right at the high. You did get a little bit of a pullback, but then it started uptrend. But then it came out of this little mini cup with handle, and I say that facetiously. It's just kind of breaking out of a nothing. But the market's so strong, it's jamming these names. They're not allowing them to pull back. VST acting so good, but at least you're getting some kind of consolidation. TLN acting good as well. So there's a lot of big liquid leadership stocks. MSTR, I think this one is, I hate to even say it, embarrass myself, but it's very SMCI like. So when SMCI topped, you get this bad break, it tries to rally, you get a bad break, actually made new highs. But look at all these bad break bars right here. Look at those. These are some nasty bars right there. So you had plenty of chance to get out of that. And I feel like MSTR's, this is the first nasty bar. Well, actually, this one is a nasty bar too. So 1, 2, 3. I'm not even including that one, but where it's higher and then closes poorly. So you've had 3 of those. And so it could go sideways for a while, and then, but ultimately, my guess would be lower. But it's based on the wild west of crypto and Bitcoin, so I don't know what it's hard to. It's not like this is a company that's making widgets, and then I'd have a little bit more confidence in my analysis in that regard. Um, all right, so what about like Microsoft? Relative strength ain't all that good, but it's holding up fine. Amazon, wow, acting really well. And obviously all-time high. Apple. Now Nvidia, again, I don't want to embarrass myself by saying I think Nvidia is tired, but today is kind of a weird day, where Nvidia was down and the market was really strong. So what was the market up today? NASDAQ, Qs were up almost 1%, and Nvidia was down what, 1%, almost 2%, so 3% range. It just seems a little unusual. And also you've got kind of an RS line non-confirmation when it made new highs, so the RS line never confirmed as it made new highs. If you're a longer term holder, you're probably going to looking at a lot of sideways action. If you're a shorter term trader, like if I bought it like here or here, I think I would be out of it. I'd just let it do its thing and look for other lower hanging fruit. It just seems like it's a little tired, if that's worth anything. Let's look at the semis, because I didn't. And so they're building this cup with handle, but look at the relative strength. Let's look at it on weekly. See how bad it's acting. So I think this group is tired. All right, NVIDIA, I mentioned. And let me backtrack a little bit. I know I talked about sentiment. And so here's the zero bull is the percentage of advisors that are bullish, the newsletter writers. And let me put the index across the top. It's not that great for timing. It's okay. It's not as good as the other way around, but you can see here it didn't work. The sentiment was pretty high, sentiment was pretty high, and eventually you got that. But like here, sentiment's pretty high, and you got that. And then here at 60, sentiment was pretty high, and you got, and this is not drawn to scale. These are 5, 7, 9, 10% corrections. Here at 64.20, you got that. So we're pushing the high end of the range as far as the newsletter writers that are bullish. I think it's zero bear. Is that the bearish guys? And it's just plummeting. All right, anybody who's bearish, you just kind of hide. You'd be embarrassed. You wouldn't dare say so on Wall Street. So that is 16, and just getting. I mean, it's been lower, but it's pretty low, and you can see how it works in reverse. Like when the bears, look at the bears, and this is the COVID break, right? In 2020, look at the spike in bears, wrong. Spike in bears, rally market, wrong. Spike in bears, wrong, huge rally. Not much of a spike historically, but you got this move up. They're responding to the sell-off in the market, and then boom, wrong. So it works better the other way versus, calling a top. It works better in trying to find a potential bottom. I think that's it as far as stocks. Are there any other stocks that I wanted to talk about? I don't think so. Oh, you know what? We can also look at the FANG U index. So goes right on the high, coming out of this area. This is something that I have been short before. There's no reason to short it. Just wait for it to break down. It does look reminiscent, and it's then let's see, right? What I'll do is I'll start shorting it if it gets into here. But you see how it had a bad break on the weekly and then made a new high out of this big base, and then that broke down. So you have a bad break and you're making a new high out of this base. So if it breaks down through that, then that would be a signal. If I look at like on a monthly, um, coming out of here, you had the bad break, and now it's gained all of it back and then some. So it looks, I don't know what to make of it. I mean, I just watch it, but I should have bought it. I actually thought about buying it here and here. I'm like, that looks like it's going higher. If it was scratch this, just look at the chart, Scott. If it's XYZ Pharmaceutical, you would buy that. So it looks like it's going higher. What would make me change is if, lower prices. So I need to come back down to like a bare minimum, something like this. And then you could have the potential for a head fake, a bull trap. So I remain long. Have your plan to get out if you have to, depending on your style. I think it's a lot. The market is just so much based on style, and sometimes the style will fit for you and sometimes it won't. And if you try to run around and match the style of the market, I think you'll be disappointed because the market will be coming, you'll be going, and vice versa. So have your style, and if you believe in it, just stay with it. So if you don't get that pullback, if that's what you want, then you live with it. And if you're a holder, if you just don't sell into strength, then it's a great market, acting good. But you obviously know that they're coming for you eventually. They're going to test you. It might not be this month. It might be next month. It might be June of next year, but it's coming. And so just have your plan in place and be prepared for that. Okay, so let's go to the quote of the week. Steve Clark, Hedge Fund Market Wizards. I was rereading his article because one of my favorite quotes in the market is do more of what's working and less of what isn't. It's such a great philosophy, like at anything, right? So if you're doing something in the market that's not working for you, like, for me, it was options. I just can never seem to make any money in options. So I just was like, well, just stop doing options. When I read his chapter, I was like, oh, he's talking to me. Just stop doing options. So, just stop doing them for whatever worth. Maybe you can make money in options, great. But for me, I just was not making very little of progress in options. A lot of energy for no progress. It didn't seem, when I thought about it, honestly, it just wasn't worth it. There's no alpha for me for those. So, but I love this quote too. The market is not about facts. This market currently is very much like this. It's all about people's opinions and positions. Consequently, this is so key. Anything can be at any price at any time. And I forgot a period, but anything can be at any price at any time. I can tell you that Tilray, I don't know if you guys remember this one, but this is such a key. Anything could be at any price at any time, because I was in the office at IBD and people were buying this one, and I want to try to get this day 9/20 2018. Gosh darn it, Scott. Jeez Louise, sorry. I think I lost 57 viewers in the last 5 seconds. Just turned it off with my ineptness. All right. So this day, the stock was broke out of a base at 25. ran to 100, consolidated, and then right here it closed at 155, and I'm just like, that's very much like Palantir. That's a sell. It needs to be sold. This is offensive strength, offensive sell. And the very next day, it was like 175, 180, 200 something during the day, and the giddiness, people running around in the office at IVD. There was a couple of people that I my I just couldn't help myself. I was like, they are too excited about this stock. This is a sell, but I didn't own it, so I couldn't sell it. So I sold calls against it, naked calls, back to my options thing. At, I don't remember if the stock was, I think it was 220, 230, 240, 250, something like that. It was like in the stratosphere. And I watched it go to 260, 270, 280, and I didn't have a stop because I was like, this is going to come down. But there was, to Steve Clark's point, anything could be at any price at any time. And I just didn't believe that it could go to 300. And it went to 300. And I had to literally walk out of the office because I was like in a sheer panic on this position. And it wasn't much of a position, but when it goes against you that fast, it can become a larger position. This is why a lot of people don't like shorting, because in theory, your risk is unlimited. And I don't remember, it was later in the day, maybe around 11 o'clock Pacific time, but I just said, well, Scott, if I can't take this position home, no matter what, I have to be out by the end of the day. And I remember looking at my phone and seeing it print. I think the high is 300. Yeah, the high is 300, and print 300. And I was like, that's this. I just was like, I couldn't believe it. Right. So it broke and closed. Where did it close? 215. And the stock gods threw me a bone and I was able to get out. I didn't make any money. I didn't lose any money. I don't remember. It was, make or lose a little bit. It's just kind of a scratch. Of course, I was right. Stock collapsed, but I couldn't stay with it because it had taken my heart out, and I couldn't handle the volatility. So it didn't do me any good to be right. You want to be right or make money. But the message is, they can go anywhere. And I didn't have a protective stop. I didn't think it could do what it did. And I got out. I got lucky, really, honestly, because what if it had closed at 300? I would have had to cover there. What if it had closed at 350? I'd have had to cover there and took in a unusually large loss on it. So back to this, once you understand that, you realize you need to have protective stops. So everything you have should have a protective stop, whether it's you have a 100-point gain in NVIDIA or whether you're just putting on XYZ for a trade tomorrow. I'm not saying you have to have it on the books with the broker, although that's probably a good idea. But if you, just in case you freeze like I did in that situation with the Tilray, but you have to have a plan and know where you're going to protect yourself. All right. Tomorrow, December 7th, Saturday, Market Surge Academy. You probably got the email notification. If you feel like joining, it's like a training session, hour and a half-ish, something like that. My favorite features, things I use to find ideas, etc. And so if you're up for it, you can join. You should have something in your mailbox as far as registration, or you might find it on our website that you can register. 800-831-2525, marketsurge@investors.com. Have a great weekend, everyone, and we will see you next week. Bye.